Maya. Daivihi esha gunamayi. Daivihi esha gunamayi. Again. Daivihi esha gunamayi. Daivihi esha gunamayi. Mama maya duratyaya. Mama duratyaya. Mama maya duratyaya. Mama maya duratyaya. Mamivaye prapadyanti. Mamivaye prapadyanti. Mamivaye prapadyanti. Mamivaye prapadyanti. Mayamitam tarantiti. Mayamitam tarantiti. Mayamitam tarantiti. Mayamitam tarantiti. Monica, you want to try? Yes,
Sanskrit?
yeah, just one line, but line by line.
Devi, I.
Oh, you don't have glasses.
No, I have no glasses. Look.
Magnify.
Yeah, I don't have Devi, Esa, Guna, Magi.
Devi Esha Gunamayi.
Devi Esha Gunamayi.
It's okay. Okay, you can
Mama, Maya,
Duratyaya.
Dura, Yaya.
Mama maya duratyaya.
Mam, Eva, Ye, Pradyanti.
Mamivaye prapadyanti.
Mamivaye prapadyanti.
Mayam, Etam, Taranti.
Mayam etam tarantite. Very good.
Mayam etam tarantite.
Jordan, you want to try? It's on the right side.
Daivi Esha Gunamayi.
Daivi Esha Gunamayi.
Mama Maya Durataya.
Mama maya duratyaya.
Mamivaye Pradanti.
Mamivaye prapadyanti.
Mayamitam tarantite.
Mayam eva tarantite. That's good. Romulus? Romulus?
I cannot see. Without my...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you get? Want to try?
I'll try.
Yes, on the right, yeah.
Without the glasses?
Yeah. Daivihai Esa Gunamayi.
Devi Esha Gunamayi.
Mama Maya Duratyaya.
Mama maya duratyaya.
Mam Eva Ye Prapadyanti.
Mamivaye prapadyanti.
Mayam Etam Tarantite.
Mayamitam tarantite. Very good. First class. Liam?
Davai hai asa gunyami.
Daivi Esha Gunamayi.
Mama maya daratyaya.
Mama maya duratyaya.
Mamivaya pradyadante.
Mamivaye prapadyanti.
Mayam etam tarantite.
Mayamivam tarantite. Very good. So now we're going to go word by word what actually all this means. Please repeat. Daivi,
Daivi,
transcendental.
Transcendental.
He, certainly.
Certainly.
Esha,
Esha,
this.
this.
Gunamayi,
Gunamayi,
consisting of the three modes of material nature.
consisting of the three modes of material nature.
Mama, My.
My.
Maya.
Maya.
Energy.
Energy.
Durateya.
Durateya.
Very difficult to overcome.
Very difficult to overcome.
Mam.
Mam.
Unto me.
Unto me.
Eva.
Eva.
Certainly.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those.
Those.
Prapadyanti.
Prapadyanti.
Surrender.
Surrender.
Maya mitam.
Maya mitam.
This illusory energy.
This illusory energy.
Taranti.
Taranti.
Overcome.
Overcome.
Te.
Te.
They.
They.
Translation. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. Although the living entities are part of His energies and are therefore divine, due to contact with material energy, their original superior power is covered. Being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. As previously stated, both the material and spiritual natures, being emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are eternal. The living entities belong to the eternal superior nature of the Lord, but due to contamination by the inferior nature, matter, their illusion is also eternal. The conditioned soul is therefore called Nitya Baddha, or eternally conditioned. No one can trace out the history of his becoming conditioned at a certain date in material history. Consequently, his release from the clutches of material nature is very difficult, even though that material nature is an inferior energy, because material energy is ultimately conducted by the Supreme Will, which the living entity cannot overcome. Inferior material nature is defined herein as divine nature due to its divine connection and movement by the divine will. Being conducted by the divine will, material nature, although inferior, acts so wonderfully in the construction and destruction of the cosmic manifestation. The Vedas confirm this as follows: Mayam tu prakritim vidyan mayinam tu maheshwaram. Although Maya, illusion, is false or temporary, the background of Maya is the Supreme Magician, the personality of Godhead, who is Maheshwara, the Supreme Controller. Another meaning of guna is rope. It is to be understood that the conditioned soul is tightly tied by the ropes of illusion. A man bound by the hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be helped by a person who is unbound. Because the bound cannot help the bound, the rescuer must be liberated. Therefore only Lord Krishna, or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, can release the conditioned soul. Without such superior help, one cannot be freed from the bondage of material nature. Devotional service or Krishna consciousness can help one gain such release. Krishna, being the Lord of illusory energy, can order this insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. He orders this release out of His causeless mercy on the surrendered soul, and out of His paternal affection for the living entity who is originally a beloved son of the Lord. Therefore surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is the only means to get free from the clutches of the stringent material nature. The words Mam Eva are also significant. Ma means unto Krishna, Vishnu only, and not Brahma or Shiva. Although Brahma and Shiva are greatly elevated and are almost on the level of Vishnu, it is not possible for such incarnations of Rajagun, passion, and Tamagun, ignorance, to release the conditioned soul from the clutches of Maya. In other words, both Brahma and Shiva are also under the influence of Maya. Only Vishnu is the master of Maya, therefore he can alone give release to the conditioned soul. The Vedas confirm this in the phrase Tvam eva viditva, or freedom is possible only by understanding Krishna. Even Lord Shiva affirms that liberation can be achieved only by the mercy of Vishnu. Lord Shiva says, Mukti pradata sarvesham Vishnu rivana samshaya. There is no doubt that Vishnu is the deliverer of liberation for everyone. Om Jnantirinandasya Jnanajana Shalakaya Chakshunanmanitamena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my humble obeisances unto my spiritual master, Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, was open my darkened eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Daivihi esha gunamai mama maya duratya mami vai prapadyante mayamitam tarantite. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So, in the Vedic civilization, in the Vedic culture, in the Vedic tradition, there are two main groups. There are the impersonalists who proclaim or who accept the Absolute as the unqualified, impersonal. And then there are the personalists who accept the Supreme Absolute to be the Supreme Personality, Supreme Individuality, the Supreme Person, Krishna, Bhagavan. Actually, these two viewpoints are not contradictory. They're in complete symbiosis, but there's a constant conflict or argument between these two groups. So the impersonal conception, the impersonalists, they say that this material manifestation, before we go to the transcendence, we always have to start from our conditioning, from our condition where we are. So they explain it that this whole world is Maya. The whole world, everything, whatever we see, is illusion. There is no substance in this world. It should be completely rejected, discarded. So, Sripad Shankaracharya, the head of this impersonal conception, he was very strict. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we prescribe this chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is very ecstatic, very nice, it is very pleasing to the ear, to the you can dance and so on, so on. And we also take prasadam, also very nice, pleasant. So anyone can join in. Our Srila Prabhupada, he said that if you offer someone an invitation that please come dance and chant to nice music and enjoy nice refreshments, nice meals, who will refuse such an invitation? So this Krishna consciousness movement is meant for everyone, and it is very easily practiced. Shankaracharya, he would not accept anyone under his school. He would not accept anyone as his disciple unless he would accept the order of sannyas. Sannyas. The order of sannyas means the fourth stage of gradual progress in spiritual values throughout one's life. In such states, a person promises to not to have illicit or licit sex connections whatsoever until his departure from this world. It's a firm vow. No more sex life. And not just that. He cannot indulge in fruitive activity. His working in a job, getting a salary. That he cannot do. He has to depend on the Brahman. He has to depend on, he has to be liberated from fruitive activity. He has to have this firm conviction that because I'm a Brahman, the Brahman, I should not indulge in this fruitive activity is considered to be low class. From the Vedic point of view, these are called karmis, karma, those who perform different karmas, and they offer sacrifice and so on for further elevation to the heavenly planets, the higher realms of materialism. They're considered to be the lowest. The lowest. In the Vedic culture, the other groups, there are four groups of human beings. There are the karmis, there are the jnanis, there are the yogis, and there are the bhaktas. So out of these 4 groups, only one group is indulging in fruitive activity. Sometimes people take challenge that all you devotees, you don't work. What is this? You simply slack off, you parasiting, what is this? But yes, this is the Vedic culture. You don't indulge in fruitive activity. The fruitive activity means that you don't understand that you are simply part of the Absolute. You don't understand the law of karma. Whatever money you're supposed to get, you will get by the law of karma. Whether you work this way or that way, you cannot change it. Prakriti kriyamani gunai karmani sarvasa ahankara vimudatma kartamati manati. Everything is decided by the law of karma. The more you try to change it, the more you become implicated in the complexities of material nature and the samsara. So, intelligent man does not indulge in fruitive activity. He renounces this fruitive action for the higher elevation. High elevation. Let me utilize this human form of life to inquire about the Absolute. Atat Brahma Jigyasa. There must be some higher purpose. If I understand I am eternal, I am going through so many lifetimes, why should I indulge in this fruitive activity? Simply working and getting money, enjoying, and again and again and again. See, everything Krishna has supplied, just like we were discussing the last time. Om Punam Adam Punamidam Punat Punat Udakshati Punasya Punamadaya Punam Nivavashishati. Everything is complete in this creation. Nothing is lacking. Actually, Krishna, the Supreme Lord, He has arranged this world in such a nice way that there is no need of working whatsoever. Just look around. There are fruits, there are vegetables. They're growing. They're growing. So you just take and you eat. What is the problem? No need of money. No need of this big arrangement of the society, the government and the economical system and so on and so on. You simply grow your food and you eat and you're satisfied. What more do you need? But we have created this artificial system of artificial necessities to further deviate from self-realization. This whole material civilization is designed in such a way by the arrangement of Maya. Yes. Those who arrange this material society, they're under the spell of Maya. They've done this because they themselves are illusion. They themselves are controlled by the higher system. Sometimes people who are into anarchy, the anarchists, they say, oh, system, it should be broken. Everyone should be free. And then there's going to be harmony. Because the government is trying to oppress. See, there's always a higher class, and they oppress the low class, and so on and so on. Communists, a very similar idea also. So, all these philosophies, they'll be complete failure. Because, why? They don't understand that this whole material cosmos is controlled by the highest government of the Supreme Lord. This is material energy. See? So in this verse it says, the divine energy of mind is very difficult to overcome. Very difficult. And one who is foolishly trying, he is ahankara vimudhatma. Ahankara means he's governed by false ego, ahankara. And vimudatma means not just ordinary fool. A special, V means special. Special type of ass. Mudha means ass. Foolish like an ass. See? So we should not be foolish trying to change our situation and work and trying to improve the condition. You cannot improve this situation because this whole world is designed so we actually become frustrated in this world. Everyone is trying to be the supreme controller. This is why the living entity, although being part and parcel of the divine energy, part of the divine, we're part of the divine. But because we're part of the divine, we have the qualities of divine. See, Krishna, this is how the personalists differ from the impersonalists. The personalists understand that the Supreme Absolute is a person. Janmadhyasya yataha. This is the conclusion of the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra is the conclusion of all the Vedas. Srila Vyasadeva, in his mature state, he gave the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra is the summary of all the Vedic literatures. There's so many Vedic literatures he has given. The four main Vedas, Rig, Sama, Yajur, Atharva. Then he explained in the Upanishads, 100 Upanishads he gave. Then he gave the 18 Puranas in different modes of material energy. Then he gave the Mahabharata for the less intelligent, and the Dvija Bandhus, the low class descendants of the higher castes. In so many ways, Srila Vyasadeva tried to explain the Vedic knowledge, the transcendental knowledge. So he gave this Vedanta Sutra to summarize, to make it easier, give us a summary. And Vedanta Sutra begins with this quote, with this sutra, Janmadhyasya yataha. Everything is coming from the Absolute. So this is the argument given to the impersonalists. If everything is the Absolute, then how is the Absolute devoid of free will and independence and individuality? That we cannot deny. This conflict, this argument, the very fact that we are discussing, and you have an opposing standpoint, and I have an opposing standpoint, means there's individuality. There's individuality. Who can deny? And because there's individuality in the conditioned state, there must be individuality in the absolute state. Because the absolute must include everything. So if it's lacking, if it's anything less, then the part of the absolute, this material creation, is more than the absolute. That doesn't make any sense. Right? Just like if you take a paper and you divide it into different parts. So then you have a little tiny bit of paper. How can that be equal to the whole paper? It will never be the equal to the whole paper. It will always remain part and parcel. So similarly, we as the living entities, we're also eternal, fragmental portions of the Absolute. Mamayavam Suryu. Mamayavam Suryu. I'm forgetting the shloka. But Krishna says that all these living entities, they're my fragmental parts and parcels, and they're struggling in this material world with the senses and the mind. Senses and the mind. See, our very senses are actually the prison house. We're imprisoned by our own senses in this material existence. The first teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is that I am not the senses, I am not my body. I have changed the body so many times. 20 years ago, I had different senses. I had different eyes. I had different ears. I had different tongue. I had different touch. Everything was different. All the cells being exchanged. But I'm still here. That means I'm different from my senses. So I should not be confused by the senses. I should not be deluded by the senses. And this is where the two schools, the impersonalists and personalists, when they are in accordance, when they're in agreement. This is the first teaching of yoga. I have to control my senses, because if I become subjected by the senses, there is no question of liberation. There's no question of knowledge. There's no question of realizing the importance of human life. So Sripad Shankaracharya, he would have a condition that only the sannyasis, only those who are ready to completely give up any sort of work, any sort of sex life, any sort of endeavor for the highest perfection. Now, the difference between the two also is that here Krishna says, this divine energy of mine, he considers the material energy divine. Why? Because the material energy is also coming from Krishna. Janmadhyasya yataha. So we as the representatives of the personal school of thoughts, we do not reject the material energy. And we do not even reject the fruitive activity. We do not reject anything in this Krishna consciousness movement. The only thing we reject is the false idea of being the enjoyer. That we have to reject. See? The impersonalists, they reject the material world, they reject sex life, they reject family, they reject everything, money, and so on and so on. But they do not reject this idea of being the enjoyer, of being the control, of being the supreme. I am not the supreme. I am part of the divine, part of the absolute, but I am not the supreme absolute. See? Just like Srila Prabhupada, we were listening to a class, he gave a very nice analogy. In Canada, we're all Canadians, right? We're all Canadians. Now, the Prime Minister, what is his name? Trudeau, Mr. Trudeau. He's also Canadian, right? But now if I say that because he's Canadian and I'm Canadian, therefore I am a Prime Minister. Does it make any sense? It doesn't make any sense. So just because I'm part of God doesn't mean that I am God. This is a foolish, a flawed logic. So you probably heard this example that we're all just like bubbles, and then when we pop and we all merge together in the air, or the water, we all merge, we're all like drops of seed, and when we merge in the seed, then our individual existence is diminished and we become part of the whole. This is a very famous analogy. You heard this before? Okay, so our Srila Prabhupada, he is actually taking that analogy and proving it wrong. He says that yes, this is so. The drops, they merge with the sea. Yeah. Just like the different rivers, they flow into the sea. That is so. But one who sees deeply, he doesn't see superficially. He dives inside, deep onto the water. He can see all the different living entities in that river which flows into the sea, into the ocean. The innumerable living entities. So when the river flows into the ocean, the living entities, are they diminished? Is their existence diminished? No. They continue in their existence. Another analogy given by Madhavacharya, a great acharya, a great spiritual master in our disciplic succession, a great stalwart. He says that imagine a green tree, and imagine a green bird. So the green bird enters the tree and sits on the branch. From the external point of view, from the superficial point of view, it seems that he merges with the tree. When I come closer, I see that the tree is distinct and the bird is distinct. This is the difference. So there is never a point when we merge with God. That is a foolish idea. If we have any idea of the absolute supreme whole, then we must understand that we are already merged. There is never a question when we separate it. The only separation is my illusory consciousness, which I should get rid of. That is the only separation. But otherwise, we're never separated from Krishna, from the Brahman, Supreme Brahman. Krishna is the Supreme Brahman. The impersonalists, they say that, Brahman Satyam Jagan Mitya. Brahman is the only truth. And this whole world is Maya. So we do not say that. We say that this world is being created by Krishna. It's created by his material energy. Krishna has two types of energy. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained. He says, Bhumirapo nalod vayu kammano pudirivacha Ankaraidyam me bina pratitiyastada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether these 8 comprise my separated material energies. Whatever you see here in the material existence consists of, it's a combination of earth, water, fire, air, ether. This is what we can see. Actually, our senses, they correspond to these 5 elements. Our senses. We have 5 senses. Seeing, smelling, hearing, touching, and tasting. Thank you. So, earth. Let's start from the subtle. Ether. There's materialistic scientists, they have difficulty to understand what is ether. Ether is the space. Space. So space we can perceive by hearing. There's sound. Okay? There's hearing. A little bit more elevated is the air. The air. The air we can hear, right? When the wind is. But we can also, another sense is involved. Touch. That's right. That's right. Feeling, yeah, or touch. Then we go a little bit more. There is fire. Fire we can hear when the fire is burning, right? We can also feel it.
Yeah.
We don't want to touch the fire, but if we want, we can touch the fire. We can feel the heat. But another sense is involved. That is the sight, the form. You see? Then a little bit more, water. From fire, water comes. Actually, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, you can have a very nice, you can read about a very nice description of the creation. It's like in the Bible, it's mentioned, let there be creation, and there was creation, and so on. This is very simplified. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the whole creation is explained how God creates this world. You know, so from the ether, air comes. From air, there is fire. You know, so if you there's this you take a stick, and by manipulating the airs, the fire comes. From fire, how does water comes? Fire, if there's a burning fire here, we all start sweating. See, water. And from water, earth comes. You know, if you keep water stagnant, it creates a mold or something like that. So that is the preliminary earth. It's very scientific. This world is very scientifically, it's all fits together. And me also, I'm part of this world. My consciousness is part of the design. You can see the design of the Creator, that my very senses, which enable me to perceive a world around me, corresponds to the world around me. It's designed like that. We're not just matter. There's the design of the living entity is perception. He's given this perception. He's given the opportunity to perceive this world. And then there's the creation itself. You see? So, just to finish, water, another sense is involved. That is the sense of taste. You can taste the water. You cannot taste fire. You cannot taste air. You cannot taste ether. You can taste the water. And then the final smell, earth. Earth, you can engage all your senses. You know? You can hear the earth. You can touch the earth. You can see the earth. You can taste the earth, and you can smell the earth. That is a complete manifestation of all the elements. So this is gross material elements. Then we have subtle elements. Sorry, subtle energies, and that is mind, intelligence, and ego. These we cannot perceive by any of the senses. I cannot see your mind. right? I cannot feel your mind or touch your mind. But that doesn't mean that you don't have mind, right? The materialistic scientists are foolish. Foolish, number one. They say, can you show me the soul? We cannot perceive through empirical knowledge the soul, so the soul doesn't exist. God doesn't exist. So many things we cannot perceive. Even through microscope, you cannot see the mind. Doesn't mean that you have no mind. I have a mind. Sometimes my mind is disturbed, right? Sometimes it's focused. Sometimes I'm happy. The mind is relaxed and I can think freely. I feel very inspired. I can think of many ideas and so on and so on. Sometimes my mind is very, tormenting me. Why did you do this? Oh, you should have done like that. Why did you, and again reminding us, and we're in the loop, suffering, mental agony, right? So, obviously a mind. I have a mind. Right? I have intelligence. There's a distinction of intelligence. Someone is very intelligent, very bright. Immediately, you tell him something, immediately he understands. Then another person, you tell him 1,000,000 times, still he does the same mistake. He cannot learn. So the different grades of intelligence. Not that everyone is intelligent in the same way. So intelligence is here. And the most subtle, that is actually what connects the gross and the subtle and the spirit soul. That is called false ego, ahankara. I have a misunderstanding. I think I am this body, I identify with the body. So that factor which makes this possible is called false ego, false designation. So besides these, now Krishna says, aparayamitastu anyam prakatim vidi me param jiva bhuta mahabhao yayidam dharate jagat. Besides this inferior nature of mighty Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mind, which are all living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. So this is the spirit soul. Obviously there's a difference. I am the controller of my body. I have the minute control of my body. I can do this. I can take this. The shaker cannot protest. I can do whatever I want. I can throw it out of the window. So I am superior energy, and these gross and subtle energies are inferior. Now, Prabhupada, he asked this question in the purport to the shloka we're discussing today. He says that if I am superior, I am a superior energy, why am I subjected to the material energy? Why am I subjected to the torments of the mind, the torments of the body, the gross elements? Sometimes, there are actually four analyzed in the Vedas, are three sufferings analyzed. The adibodhika is the suffering imposed by other living, by our minds and by our body. Adidevika is suffering imposed by natural catastrophes, the weather, the higher powers. Adi-atmika, sorry, I made a mistake. Adi-atmika is the suffering imposed by the mind and body, and adibodhika is the suffering imposed by other living entities. Someone tells us something, nasty. We have problems with the government, or our boss, or our friends, or our enemies, and so on and so on. So these four sufferings are constantly subjecting us. Although it's inferior energy, matter, we're constantly under the influence, under subjugation. We're suffering. So why is that? Devi Gunamai Mama Maya Duratyaya. Krishna says that this divine energy, it is divine because it is coming from me. It is subjecting you because I am controlling it. Right? The shaker is, very, is harmless. But if a rascal person comes and takes the shaker and starts to beat us with a shaker, then that shaker, very same shaker, becomes very dangerous. You see? So the material energy is neutral. It's insentient. There's no consciousness in matter. But because Krishna takes charge of the material energy becomes our enemy. Actually, Krishna doesn't want to create any problems for us. But because we have decided that I don't want to serve Krishna, I don't want to serve some god, I don't want to submit, bow down here, come to the temple and worship Krishna. So Krishna, he asked, so what would you like then? Because I am the Supreme Lord. There's nothing beyond me. Matta parataram nanyat kishchit asti dhanam jaya, Krishna says. There is no truth superior to me. Everything is existing on my energy. As though pearls are strung on a thread. Similarly, everything is floating on me, is what he says. The impersonalists, although they become free, so-called free, from the influence of the material energy, they have great detachment, they're very detached, because they failed to please Krishna, revive their original service to Krishna. This is how we become free. This is how Krishna, he tells the material energy, leave him alone. Leave him alone. Because they failed to do this, ye niramindaksha vimuktamanina svayasta avishuddha buddhaya. Although they become liberated from the material influence, again they come back to the fruitive activity. See, their renunciation doesn't last. But a devotee, although seemingly he might be working in the material world, he might be working just like Arjuna. Arjuna was a working man. He was a soldier. He is actually liberated. Why? Because he dovetails whatever activity he does in the service of Krishna. See, that's the beginning. Karma yoga means dovetailing. You're working for the fruitive activity. You attach the results. You want to make money. That's fine. You dedicate a portion of the results of your work to Krishna's service. That is the beginning. In this way, you become eligible to surrender fully to Krishna. Fully. So, this philosophy of denial is a very foolish philosophy. From the Vedic literatures, we have the evidence, in the Padma Purana, and so on, that Sripada Shankaracharya is the incarnation of Lord Shiva, who comes on the order of Krishna to manifest this philosophy to bewilder the living entities more and more. So this is the arrangement of Krishna. This philosophy from the very beginning, it's flawed. It's meant to bewilder the living entities who are desiring Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bonam Vidadati Kaman. It is mentioned in the Upanishads that there are many eternals, but amongst the many eternals there is the Supreme Eternal, Krishna. And there are many conscious living entities, but Krishna is the supremely conscious. I am conscious of the pains and pleasures of my body, but I do not know about the pains and pleasures of your body. I have no clue, no understanding. The difference is that Krishna can know the pains and pleasures of every single living entity, even a small ant. If you kill an ant, oh, what is this nonsense? Let me kill this ant. Krishna can feel the pleasure and the pain of even a small ant. Just imagine, what is his consciousness? There's so many innumerable living entities. And he's supremely conscious of every living entity's psychological process. That is the consciousness of God. That we cannot conceive. So he supplies all the necessities to all these minute parts and particles, all these living entities. He supplies whatever they desire. You see? That's why we have to suffer. Because our desires are foolish. I want to enjoy something that is ephemeral, something that is temporary. It's like people are running after money, after women, after nice foodstuffs. So many restaurants are here in Chantalong open. So this is Maya, illusion, because I am eternal. I can never enjoy anything that is temporary if I am eternal. That temporary pleasure is pleasurable only because of ahankara vimundatma. Because of my false ego, my false identification with the body. Because I think, I'm this body, I'm the senses. I need the pleasure for my mouth, for my genital, for my belly, for my this, for my mind, whatever. So, the Vaishnavas, devotees, they understand that this energy is divine. Because it's coming from Krishna. It has been designed by Krishna. And to revive its spiritual nature if we utilize His material energy in His service. In His service. So whatever you see here in this temple room, this is how it's done, practically. Whatever you see here is not material, although it might seem to our material eyes material. See, by your material eyes you cannot see anything spiritual. You have to purify your eyes. Premanjana bhakti vilochanena. Lord Brahma says that you can see the transcendental beautiful form of Krishna. Venum kvanantam manavinda, and so on and so on. Some beautiful prayers Lord Brahma has given in the scripture called Sri Brahma Samhita. So he describes God, how God looks like. He's playing a flute. Venu kvanantam aravinda kalaya kaksham. He is dressed in yellow garments. These yellow garments, they look like lightning. Like when you see in the sky during the storm, lightning. So the color of this yellow garments are just like lightning. And almost you become blind when you see this. You see that? The yellow Jodi Krishna. Right? His skin is like a dark cloud. When you see just before the storm starts, you see a dark blue cloud. So this is how Krishna, the color of his skin looks like. Blue, almost blackish. Actually, Krishna has a blackish complexion. Then the most enchanting smile. The music he plays, the melody he plays with the flute, enchants the three worlds. The great rishis were meditating for thousands of years. They become disturbed when Krishna plays his flutes. They become disturbed in their trance. They become enchanted. They become attracted. It breaks their trance. So this beautiful form, we can see also, this is the purpose of Krishna consciousness practice, that ultimately you will be able to see Krishna. Not after you die in this life. You'll be able to see it when you chant Hare Krishna. You'll be able to see Krishna in his original form. You'll be able to talk to Krishna. This is possible. It is not some kind of a fantasy or some kind of a theoretical knowledge. It's practical. There's a realization. But Lord Brahma says, Premanjana bhakti vilochanena. Premanjana. Your eyes must be smeared with the salve of love. Your eyes must be pure. They must be purified. So this is the purificatory process. This chanting, this taking prasadam, this whole culture, Krishna conscious culture. It is not a cult. It is a culture. Krishna consciousness is a culture. Not a culture where the center is the genital, the sex life. That is the focus in the materialistic society, sex life. That is the root cause of everything people do, sex life. Prabhupada says that actually all these big skyscrapers you see in Montreal, big skyscrapers, this is simply to impress the opposite sex. Man has created these big skyscrapers to impress the female gender. It is so. So it It is not a culture like that, focused on sex life. It is a culture focused fully on gods. People, they don't understand what is God. They have no understanding. They think God is my order supplier. God give us our daily bread. God give me this. God give me this. Give protection to my family, to my nation, and so on and so on. This is not the relationship we have with God. Our relationship is, I am eternal servant of God. And because I'm eternal servant of God, my duty, my constitutional position is to serve God. You see? So if I begin this process of devotional service, today you have begun this devotional service by this chanting. It is so easy. You don't need to even come to the temple. You don't have to make big sacrifices. No need of any money. No money expenditure. You simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You can chant on your way to school, to your work, at home, on the toilet. You can even chant on the toilet or while taking a shower. There's no hard and fast rules for this chanting. And your devotional service has begun. It has begun. So if you take it seriously, you persevere, you keep on chanting, you keep it up. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. 24 hours if possible. Whenever you're free, chant this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Then Krishna will tell the material energy you leave him alone, and you will see how wonderful your life becomes. No more anxiety. You're in this world, but you're not in this world. So this is done by dovetailing whatever we have in this material world in the service of Krishna. I dovetail my tongue in the service of Krishna. I vibrate the name of Krishna. So my tongue is getting spiritualized. I take prasadam, food offered with love and devotion. See, Lord, our Ramachandra Prabhu is cooking the whole day with love and devotion. Who can do this? Cook for no salary. I don't pay him anything. Who can do this? Unless he's a devotee. Cook with love and devotion. People cook because they want to satisfy their belly. I would like to eat something palatable. Okay, let me cook something. There's so much control by the tongue that do not mind even to kill the poor animals simply for a whimsical little whim of the tongue. Right? So if we cook for Krishna with love and devotion, love and devotion means that not just cook one time, make an experiment, but we should make a vow. Unless this foodstuff has been offered to Krishna previously. He has created all this foodstuffs. He has created all these pleasures in the material world. So he should be the supreme enjoyer. He should enjoy first. Before I eat, let me offer it to the Lord. If I make a vow like this, then I spiritualize my tongue. I spiritualize my belly. I spiritualize my eating process. Just like devotees, sometimes they overindulge in this prasadam taking. That is good. I have provided overindulgence by filling up the belly with pakora and samosa and halva and so on and so on. He becomes completely a semi-man. He becomes a semi-man. When Srila Prabhupada, he came to New York and he started this love feast, actually, what we're celebrating today. It was started by Srila Prabhupada single-handedly himself at the age of 70. He cooked all the preparations, he gave a class, he led the kirtan, he taught devotees how to chant, everything he did on his own. He even washed the pots. Nobody was helping him to wash the pots. At the age of 70, he was doing this. So, in these early stages, devotees would come and they would just take a little bit, prasadam, because in the Western world, this is the prominent philosophy, impersonalism. reject everything material. It's all material. Money, it's materialistic. You know? Sometimes we go out on the street, we distribute our books, and people challenge. If you're spiritual, if you're so spiritual, why you are asking for money? They're so foolish. How you can live without money here in this world? Is it a practical proposal? If I do not collect for money, how will pay for this place? How will pay for the offerings to Krishna? We don't reject money at all. Quite the opposite. We can collect millions of dollars because we know the process, how to utilize the money properly. Everyone benefits. Everyone benefits. Right? If you learn how to cook for Krishna, that one of the most important aspects of cooking for Krishna is that after Krishna takes his a meal and he leaves it for you, you should distribute the prasadam to others. That's why we have called you today. We're not satisfied with cooking nice preparations and eating ourselves. That is not the idea. The idea is that we want to cook for Krishna the best, most delicious foodstuffs ever. Let Krishna enjoy as much as possible. And then when he leaves his remnants, let us distribute the mercy to others. The more you engage in the service of Krishna, the more you become free from this enjoying propensity. This is the real secret of detachment, of renunciation. Do not reject anything material. Dovetail it in the service of Krishna. This is the process of Krishna consciousness. You want to have sex life? Have sex life, no problem. But conceive a child which will become the pure devotee of Krishna. You want to earn lots of money? No problem. Earn lots of money and build a nice temple for Krishna. Make a nice temple for Krishna. Make an arrangement for Krishna. Beautiful offerings for Krishna. Supply. In Jagannath Puri, there's a temple in India where Krishna has served this prasadam like he did just now 56 times a day. Imagine. The temple has a lot of land where specifically for Lord Jagannath, the devotees are growing foodstuffs. No other vegetable fruit is allowed unless it is grown in that garden. So strict standard. And the monks, they cook constantly. The cooking is such a huge kitchen, you can't believe, huge kitchen. And the Brahmins, they're cooking there 24 hours, no stoppage. And people come, 1,000 men come to the temple to see the deity. They're being served immediately. 1,000 plates are served immediately, ready, any time of the day. And in this way, 56 times, Krishna is offered foodstuffs. The best you can ever taste. So, let people bring $1 million. We'll show you how to spend nicely. We don't reject anything. We don't reject relationships. We're not in a seclusion. People have a wrong idea that this is a seclusive movement. Quite the opposite. Every Saturday, even during the week, so many guests are coming here. So many people we're meeting on the streets. How many people, how many new people, how many new friends you make throughout the day? Maybe one, maybe two. We make tens, hundreds sometimes. It's not seclusive, quite the opposite. This is the most inclusive movement in the world. Because we don't see such foolish distinction. Race, gender, religion, nationality. People have locked themselves in these different cults. These are real cults. The black sticks with the black. The white stick with the black. With the whites. The Christians, they have their little church. The Muslims, they have a little mosque. The Hindus, they have a little this and that. And they fight. So, who is in a cult? So we had a discussion. Who is in a cult? Srila Prabhupada is shown practically. When he was here, people of all genders, of all nationalities, of all religious denominations, they joined in this international Krishna consciousness society with a common platform. Krishna, God. God. If you accept Krishna, you're not in conflict with any of these religions. Because none of these actually explain what is the form of God. So if we give you the form, yes, it is Krishna. It's a beautiful young boy playing a flute. Why are you rejecting? Why? You have nothing. Now if I give you something, why are you rejecting? If you are after God, that means you're not after God. You're after the bread. You want the bread, you want the results. Utilizing God. And if I want to love God, you become envious. Oh, this person is a superior knowledge and more people are attracted to it. Oh, let me somehow or other, let me check this movement. This is what is going on. So, Krishna consciousness is not impersonalism, it's not false detachment. This is what the whole Bhagavad Gita is all about. Arjuna wants to renounce the fight. He doesn't want to fight. The whole conversation between Arjuna and Krishna is that Krishna is trying to convince him. Don't give up the fight. Continue the fight. But do it for me. Don't do it for the kingdom, for the victory, for your family. Don't do it for them. Do it because I told you. Then you're free from any sinful reactions. During the war, there's many sinful reactions. Many people are killed. So one who is performing whatever activity it is for the sake of Krishna, he is free from any accidental sinful activities that is incurred. So I'll stop here if there are any questions on this particular subject matter. You're welcome to ask.
How we can put Krishna to say don't reject any material.
Yeah.
But you can do what you want, but put it on the service of Krishna.
Yes.
There's something you can have or you can something you can you have pleasure to have it to do it, but you can put it on the service of Krishna. By example, if you are drug addicted, you want it, you like it, or you can put it. It's like sexual pleasure. Or you can put it on the
name of Krishna.
Actually, what is pleasure? Now we should define first of all. You mentioned the word pleasure. Our illusion, we think that pleasure means to enjoy. That is actually not our pleasure, to enjoy. Our pleasure is to serve. Believe it or not, our pleasure is to serve. Just like you have the finger. Finger is the fragmental portion of the body. Okay? So, I have a big cake. Now the finger says, why should stomach always get the cake? I'm going to eat it myself. So he goes and he tries to eat the cake, the finger. It's impossible. Right? He just spoils the cake. You know? But if he serves the stomach, the finger takes the piece of cake, puts it in the mouth, goes there, it gets into the finger. Right? This is how finger enjoys. This is the process of enjoyment. If we directly enjoy, that is not the enjoyment. As I explained before, we're not this body. Okay? We're not the body. Body is temporary. In the past, you had a body of a small boy. Where's the body now? Gone. Right? Completely gone. You have a different body. But you're still here. You see?
Yeah.
So now, this body also will be finished. See? So if you enjoy in this body, that enjoyment is not your enjoyment. That is simply the interaction of your senses and the sense objects, as we discussed before, how they interrelated. Our senses are directly connected to the material elements so tightly. But I'm not involved in that interaction. I'm simply observing. The soul doesn't take part in these pleasures. The soul is simply illusioned because it identifies with the body. Just like you're watching a movie, right? So the movies are made in such a way that you identify with the camera view, right? So when you watch, you forget your position. You think you are in the movie. You're watching the movie. And then Freddy Krueger comes on the screen. So you become scared. Because you identify with the camera. But let's say someone who's there shooting the movie, he understands all the intricacies. He's not fooled. So when the actor does the thing, he's not affected. So that is yogi. Yogi doesn't take, he does not identify with the senses. That's why he's not affected. You see? So pleasure is allowed when we serve Krishna. That is the real pleasure. It's like simple, you know. Everyone likes to eat some palatable dishes. So we also enjoy that, but only after Krishna. Similarly, sex life, you can utilize a sex life, but make the sex life to beget a nice Krishna conscious child. Then that sex pleasure is not sinful. It is not bad. That is also coming from Krishna. That sex pleasure is created by Krishna. It's not that we should reject it. No, it is natural. It is not unnatural. It is fine. Krishna actually says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am that sex life. It's me. You can think of me. While experiencing sex pleasure, you can think of me. But it must be practiced according to rules and regulations. See, so there are some rules and regulations. If you senselessly enjoy, you know, senselessly is a kind of like an oxymoron. You senselessly enjoy your senses. The more you indulge in your senses, the more you lose actually your sensitivities. See, people who are very much addicted to sex life, they lose the pleasure of sex life. It becomes just ordinary. You know, in a Vedic culture, people do not indulge in sex life unless they want to beget a child. So that sex life is sacred. It's sacred. A woman, she has sex life only with her husband. Until that time, she remains a virgin, and she remembers the man who she has sex life the first time until the rest of her life. You see? So even sex life, we don't reject. Quite the opposite. We fully understand the value of sex life and we give it all the respect. But people who indulge in sex life every day, like monkeys, then they all kinds of perversions because they're not satisfied. So they take up homosex, they take up all kinds of sex, you know, which there's no need of mentioning here. You see?
Yes.
So this is how we enjoy. We enjoy through Krishna. Krishna eats, and because we're part and parcels of Krishna, we also enjoy. It's not that we don't enjoy it. When I said that, you know, our constitutional position is to simply serve, it's not that we don't enjoy it. We also enjoy it. But the process is different. If we try to directly enjoy it, not, you know, leaving Krishna aside, that pleasure is illusory. Simply my body is pleased. But me, the soul, I need to satisfy Krishna. Then my soul is pleased. This is the process. Okay?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
You just mentioned Arjuna.
Arjuna, yes.
Arjuna, when Krishna was telling him that he has to fight, is that about the same philosophy that those people are killing on the name of God? So they're just fighting everywhere, they're just killing everybody and on the name of God? Is that about the same?
This was not an ordinary war.
Okay.
This was a war to preserve religious principles. There are bad elements in the society. There are bad elements. It's not that everyone is a saintly man here. There are thieves, there are dacoits. Actually, in this material world, everyone is a criminal. Because everyone is envious of God. Everyone is trying for supremacy. But when there's no religion, when people don't follow any common ground, they become detrimental. They become a threat to others. So in order to protect the others, we have the law, we have the government, and we have soldiers, and so on and so on. So for aggression, that is not religious war. But to defend people from bad elements, that is justified. Justified violence. Just like, for example, you can take a knife and you can stab someone and take his money. But that same knife, a surgeon can take, and he can take out a tumor from your body. If you have a cancer, the same instrument, he helps you so much. The same violence, he's also stabbing you. He's also opening your belly, but he's helping you, whereas the thief is harming you.
The intention.
It's the intention which matters. It's not the activity. So that has to be decided. That we have to discuss. What is religious war? That's why we have knowledge here. Simply activity is not sufficient. We have to develop knowledge. That's why Krishna has given the Bhagavad Gita. If he just tells us that you worship me, surrender to me, and that's it, bye, then, we might so-called worship him, just like so many people. They go to church and they do go through the rituals, but then you see in their private life they act worse than the atheists sometimes. The atheists are more moral than these so-called religious people. Why? Because there's no knowledge. They have not understood God. So that's why we hold these classes, So along with the chanting, we also understand why we chant and why we serve Krishna, and so on and so on. So the knowledge is important. That's why the Kshatriya class, the soldiers in a Vedic society, they are never independent. They always fight, or they always make decisions under the guidance of the Brahmins. Brahmana. Brahmins are those who study the scripture. Just like, we're supposed to be Brahmins. Okay. That's why Prabhupada is training us here. That they're devotees living in a temple, and all their engagement is to study the scriptures and teach the scripture. See, actually, we should be at the McGill University, Concordia University, and so on, because this is the most essential knowledge, the knowledge about God. Now, that knowledge they teach is disconnected from God. That's why it simply creates problems. People, they go to university and they develop all kinds of knowledge and so on, but because they have no connection with God, and that's why they don't have connection with other living entities, they make an atomic bomb. Bravo, very good. First class, your universities, what they have produced. All these rascal scientists who create weapons which will wipe out the mankind from the surface of the earth. You see? So this is because they have lost the connection with God. So the Brahmin, he simply studies the scripture and he teaches the scripture and lives in poverty. Voluntarily, he takes the position of poverty, very, very austere. So no one can actually bribe him. See? Because people are not performing any austerities. They lived very lavishly. They spent all kinds of things. I need a new car every year, and this iPhone, and that is whatever, so many things. They become very easily controlled. You know? Oh, you don't want to work for me? Okay, no more iPhone for you. No more this for you. No more, you cannot afford. If you live very austerely, very simply, then if someone says, well, I'm not going to give you your iPhone, you don't care. You just tell him, I don't care for your rubbish, nonsense things. I'm satisfied with little prasadam and with little chanting. No one can control you. So that Brahminical class is missing in our society. That's why the Kshatriyas, the politicians, even now, they become deviated by the Vaishya class, by the businessmen. Simply they pay the politicians, they bribe. Can you make me this? Can you arrange so my company can prosper? Can you do this? And the politicians, they're actually Shudras, Shudra mentality. They're not brave. They're not they're just like prostitutes. Whoever pays him money, that he will speak, that he will control, and so on, so on. So it is not like that. That we have to take into consideration, that when Arjuna is fighting, this Varnashram system, this perfect system, Vedic system, Kshatriyas are governed by the learned men, the Brahmins, the Vaishyas are working under the Kshatriyas, the Shudras are respectful to the other classes, everything works in perfect harmony. This was how the society was working at that time. On that basis, Arjuna was fighting that war.
Is there any hope that more people can get into that consciousness, that Krishna consciousness? That more and more people in this society?
Well, you have to help us.
That's why we're here.
Krishna says, Manusyanam sa sesu kaschiyatati siddhaya. He says that amongst many millions of people, there's hardly one who's trying for self-realization. And those who are already trying, hardly one knows him in tatvata, in truth. So this Krishna consciousness is very rare. But our spiritual master, what he's trying to do, he's trying to create a class of brahmanas. Because this is the head, the learned man. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to train. We give training, actually, Brahminical training. Anyone who comes here, he can stay with us, chant with us, live here with us. He doesn't have to pay any money, and he can be Brahminically trained. Just like Ramachandra. I trained Ramachandra. He came one day, and I'm still training him, and he's doing very well now. Now he can cook, and he can also give a class. He can explain the philosophy. So anyone comes without any prejudgment. We have no prejudgment. Anyone from any class, he can come. Now it's all mixed up. All the classes. There's no division. We can give him this training, And these brahmanas, they will instruct the others who might not necessarily have the propensity. It is not that everyone. It's not our point that everyone should live in a temple like we do. No. We can interact with others. We can interact with people who work. Like you have a job, I assume. Yeah. So there's no problem with that. You can also practice this Krishna consciousness, and side by side you have your work, your family, and so on and so on. Your propensity is different. You might not necessarily just be ready to study the whole day and undergo austerity. You need a little comfort and so on and so on. This is not harmful, provided you chant Hare Krishna, hear the philosophy, understand the philosophy, the purpose, and you engage in service of Krishna. If not directly, then you can give your part of your salary. We can arrange the preaching program for others, so others can benefit. In this way, you might not necessarily directly serve, but you're also serving. When you're on a job, it might not be related because part of your salary you give for the propagation or the service of Krishna, that your job becomes equal to service in a temple. There's no difference.
So I share whatever I earn with the serving Krishna. Just to
Yeah, but your work on a job might seem very mundane job. it becomes devotional service to Krishna. Direct devotional service to Krishna. Like Arjuna. Arjuna wasn't giving class on the Bhagavad Gita or chanting or this. He was fighting with a sword. But his fighting with a sword is the supreme devotional service. Because he's doing it for Krishna. For Krishna's benefit. Krishna asked him to do it. So he's giving to Krishna. To resolve this to Krishna. You know, first Arjuna was considering, well, I'm doubtful whether we're going to win or the other party will win. So Krishna tells him, don't think like this. Don't think of the result. Don't try to be attached to the result of the situation. That it must be like this or it must be like that. Leave it up to me. The result is up to me. It is already decided. I have already killed these soldiers. You simply be attached to the service. You know? So, giving up part of the result, it's actually great austerity. You know, you're working hard and then you just give it to someone else. It's a great austerity, you know. But if you give it to Krishna, or for the service of Krishna, then you're not implicated. You can keep something for yourself. You're not implicated. You become free from the attachment to this, you know, because you please Krishna. So, on this principle, we can dovetail the whole society. Everyone can join this Krishna consciousness movement in this way. Not necessarily that everyone has to shave his head and wear this dress and chant Hare Krishna and like that. Whatever they do, we can dovetail everything in the service of Krishna. There's no need to dismantle the society. The system works. The system is coming also from Krishna. No? But the problem is now the focus is money. Money and selfishness, and you know, this creates the problem. If everyone is serving Krishna, there's perfect harmony. Because if people serve Krishna, this selfishness, this greedy propensity is being purified. People become nice. You know? But because Krishna is missing, then the only self-interest is my body. That's how everyone is thinking. My body, my senses.
Me.
And my family, senses, my nationalities, and so on and so on. So if people doing what they do, but they do it for Krishna, they sacrifice the result to Krishna, they become purified. You know? And when everyone becomes purified, then, you know, we can live very nicely in harmony. There's something else. We have our body necessities, but there's also something else. There's Krishna. Everyone is at a common ground. Let us all please Krishna. What you want, that doesn't matter. What I want, that doesn't matter. What Krishna wants, that matters. Then there's no conflict between you and me.
That's the ego that's keeping us from putting everything for ourselves.
The false ego.
The false
because
ego.
we have a real ego, and that is my spiritual identity by which I am serving to Krishna. You see, ego we don't reject. He has a certain propensity. You have a certain propensity. There's no one else as you in the whole creation. You're unique. He's unique. Everyone is unique. Everyone can serve Krishna in a very specific way, in a unique way. That is the real ego. The false ego is that I have this unique ability to serve Krishna and I misuse it for my self-gratification. That is the false ego. That we have to reject. Alright, so unfortunately we have to shut up, but is any question? Liam, any questions?
One way we make some, I don't know the English word, benevolent service, volunteer. It's we serve, but we make it for the service of Krishna.
How?
Because we.
What is the
we give,
voluntary work?
Any voluntary work for the society. We give.
How is it for Krishna if it's for society?
For example, for poor people.
No. Why? How is it for Krishna if it's for poor people?
I don't know. I want to know.
No, it comes back to the same thing. If the finger wants to enjoy the food stuff, he cannot.
Okay.
You know, the society or whatever you want to call it, the poor people is always a fraction. What about the rich people? the rich people should be neglected. Then my service is limited.
He thinks by helping others, he just serving. He thinks I think that's the...
No, but
question.
that service is limited. Why only poor people? Why you make it the limitation?
Maybe if it's the minimum you can do.
We should
For-
serve
for the
everyone.
moment.
We should serve everyone. We should serve everyone. That is real love. If I only love my family and I neglect the others, is that service? That I'm serving myself. Yes, it's extended selfishness. Like a thief, you know? Thief is stealing, and when he's arrested, he says, well, I'm stealing, I have to maintain my family. It's not for me I'm stealing. It's for my family. Is he going to be excused? No. So this is a wrong idea. And I do voluntary work. I serve the poor. I serve the people, and so on and so on. No. That is simply for our good feeling. I'm a very good man. I serve the poor. And the poor people, oh, thank you, you helped me a lot. And my ego is very pleased.
You have to take
I am Krishna. I am the maintainer of the poor people.
If you have fun, you feel good when you do that. Yeah, you take pleasure to do that, I think.
But if your pleasure is the feeling that I am the maintainer, I am God, that is a wrong pleasure. Like you said, there are some pleasures which are good, and there's some pleasures which are addictive. Then we have to distinguish. That pleasure is not good. If I'm thinking I'm a very good man, very, very beneficial to others, and people respect me very much, that is a great pride. But I understand your question in a different way. If you have a propensity to help others, even the poor, give them Krishna prasadam. See, the poor people are hungry, give them Krishna prasadam. The same activity, but make it Krishna conscious. Don't give them any food. Don't give them meat. That will implicate them more. See? People think that, oh, I'm helping the poor people. I buy them all a meal at McDonald's. But these poor people, they take the meat and they become implicated in sinful karma. They have to take their birth in an animal form and suffer the consequences, the punishment. Someone who kills the animals or he purchased the animals, he's implicated in the sinful karma. So, okay, for the time being, they're very much thanking him. Thank you very much. But in the next life, they suffer so much because of his so-called help. You see? So we should also know what is real help. The real help is to revive my memory of Krishna consciousness. That is real help. What is the use of this temporary? He's going to fill up his belly and again he's hungry. You're going to give him $10, he's going to spend it, again he's poor. Actually, Lord Jesus, he said like this. And we're telling him that what about the poor? What about the lame? And so on and so on. See, Jesus, he was doing all kinds of miracles, healing and so on and so on. And then people started flooding him. Please, I have this problem and that problem. And Jesus became agitated. I'm just trying to convince you that God exists. Because you're so foolish. You don't understand what I'm saying. So I'm showing you, look, miracle. See, God is a miracle. Have faith in God. But he took it in a different way. Jesus is my order supply. He can heal my disease. And millions of people started flooding him. Cure this disease, cure that. So then someone asked him, what about the lame? What about the poor? And Jesus said, the lame will always be there. The poor will always be there. But I will not always be with you. See? I will not always be with you. This is the most important. Krishna. If I don't love Krishna, what is the use of my help? I am simply here enjoying Krishna's property. And taking from Krishna's property, I'm trying to be so-called good to others. Is that very nice? What we can give to the poor? Only what Krishna has created. We take it from him, we steal it from him, and then we so-called good. do good to others, and the others, they're clapping because they have no understanding of Krishna, they don't believe in Krishna, they have no idea. We cheat them like this, and they give us all the praise, which actually belongs to Krishna. They should praise Krishna. But we want to come in between Krishna and the people. I want to take the credit. This is why the so-called good activity is not a good activity. We're against it. Our Krishna consciousness movement, we're against this philanthropy. You know, what actually has been accomplished? So many charities are opened. The Red Cross, this cross, Greenpeace, they're all working and collecting money. But what has been solved? Quite the opposite. The world is getting worse